Bill Obrien grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, and graduated from the NCSU School of Design in 1962, where he worked closely with Edward Terry Waugh. In 1963, Waugh sent Obrien to Peru for extensive work with the Agricultural University in Lima. When Obrien returned to the United States in 1967, he worked for Durham's John Latimer until starting Obrien Atkins Associates in 1975. During this time, 1967 to 1975, he designed several modernist houses. Located in Research Triangle Park, Obrien Atkins is now one of North Carolina's largest and most successful design firms, with projects worldwide.
My father was basically an entrepreneur. Started a textile plant that dealt with a very specialized type of upholstery material, and also a furniture plant. So I was exposed to some industrial applications early on, and that has remained a very interested part of my career, is doing industrial work. They've ranged from pharmaceutical. A current project in Alabama is for a large vitamin manufacturing plant. The industrial aspect is something that's always been of an interest, to watch things being built, and there the client actually becomes the product, and whatever that product needs is something that we've got to provide, not only the structure to produce it, but all the utilities and the flow of materials, the raw material in, the finished materials out, things of that nature. So that's always been forefront. I've always been fascinated by travel. I've worked with industrial clients really in various places in Europe, Italy, Denmark, Finland, Belfast, Northern Ireland. Made many trips there, working with a subsidiary of Caterpillar for a plant that was eventually built in South Carolina. So travel has been a major part of my career. My son Tommy, who joined us some 10 years ago after working in Atlanta for 15 years, he was actually born when I was in Peru. In a week or so, he will begin a one-year project in Saudi Arabia. And so our firm has had an office in India, in Hyderabad, India, since the year 2000. So again, travel and working beyond the Research Triangle has been part of our practice and a part of our interest. Our firm, Obrien Atkins, was founded in 1975. We actually started in Chapel Hill, and prior to I-40 coming to the park, we moved out here in '86, and have enjoyed many projects in the park, and working throughout North Carolina, and currently we're working from Maine to Alabama on the east coast of the U.S., in addition to our work in India and the forthcoming work in Saudi Arabia. And one unique project that we did many years ago was at the North Carolina Zoo. It was an aviary. It was funded by R.J. Reynolds. But there it became quite an interesting process to not only design a structure that would support the birds, and which are the star of the show, and the plant material, but yet accommodate the visitors that would be there. And so again, we traveled various sites around the U.S. During the programming stage of that project, looking at what worked in other locations, but almost more importantly, what didn't work, or what would a aviary manager in another location do differently if they could build one today. And so we tried to incorporate all of that into what resulted in the aviary at the North Carolina Zoo. It was somewhat pioneering in that it was a state construction project. We had to adhere to state construction regulations, but it became necessary early on that we decided on a transparent dome as being the way to enclose the space. But yet we had to know which dome we were going to use before we could design the balance of the structure to support it. So that required going out to bid only for the dome, which had never, a structure for a building had never been bid separately ahead of the building. But we were able to do that. We were able to finalize the structure, and then we did the concrete and so forth, the ventilation system to meet it. The ventilation system had to work to produce a very humid condition, again, to support the birds and the plant life. Not so much as a comfort to the visitor, because the visitor was only going to be there 15 or 20 minutes, and of course the birds would be there for their life. So it really became the birds were the client, and we had to find out what the birds needed, and we engaged a consultant that worked with a national zoo as a consultant to help us in this regard, and we had to worry about providing shelter and relief from the public and so forth and so on. But that was a very successful project, and I guess what we liked about it was that it was very unique. It was almost a one-of-a-kind type of thing, and generally speaking, buildings are almost one of a kind. They could be repeat, but the site, of course, makes it different. And that's one of the things I enjoy about the industrial work, is that generally every product is different. We've done some very strange products, making pharmaceutical grade gelatin from a product of the North Carolina pork industry. I won't get into a lot of detail on that, but that's about as unique as you can find. And then it was somewhat enlightening to see that product was being used in the vitamin manufacturing plant that we've just completed in Alabama. In fact, we're doing a phase 3 of that plant now. But again, unique projects, unique clients, unique circumstances, sometimes with, again, that what makes a project unique can be its time deadline. It can be something that needs to be done very urgently. So then you've got to design a system that maybe breaks the project into multiple bid packages so that certain aspects of it can be started while design work is still going on, and that presents a challenge that makes it unique and adds interest to the project. Sometimes adds too much interest, but again, that's part of the job. This is a photograph of a project that was recently completed for Caterpillar in Clayton. It's actually a part of a machine development center. This is the design center aspect of that project, which is very much like our office. We're designing buildings, and they're designing new machines. It's a 2-story building. The upper floor is mostly design stations. The lower level brings in some sub-assembly areas. But in association with this project, we have 2 buildings where they can actually make the new prototypes. There's overhead bridge cranes and heavy machinery. And then there's over 100 acres of proving grounds where they can go out and test the new machines and for endurance and And so this is kind of an all-inclusive project, somewhat unique with Caterpillar in that all of this is based on one site. It probably involves, several hundred people. But again, this was a unique project where teamwork and collaboration of different elements was very important, and it gave the designers a way to be where the machines were being produced and then where they're being tested, and so this again was something that took some years to develop from the idea to actually getting it completed. But the groundbreaking went on schedule, and this was opened last summer of 2013. This is an early study model of the Durham County Courthouse and a parking deck that was completed last year. February of 2013 was the groundbreaking, or was the ribbon cutting on this one. But again, we like to look at the form. We like to look at the relationship of not only the elements within the project, but how the project relates to surrounding areas. So we do a lot of models, some of them in-house, and some of them we contract out. Obrien Atkins has landscape architecture and master planning, as well as mechanical and electrical engineering in-house. And we find many times that the architectural team and the planners, especially in early stages of the job, can look at various scenarios for handling a site and looking at not only the initial program, but how the site can grow over a period of time. This is a photograph of the what we call B-Tech. It's on the campus of NC State. It's at the Centennial campus. It's one of several buildings that we've done on the Centennial campus, and actually did the very first building there, which was, I think it's called Research 1 now. But again, the biotech industry, the microelectronics industry, we've done projects early on with both those, either at universities or here in the Research Triangle Park. This photograph is of a science building at UNC Greensboro, where this pedestrian way was actually a street that was closed, and so it became not only a project to deal with the science building itself and the various mechanical aspects of it, but how it would relate to the campus and to the flow of students to and around the building. And this is one of 3 major projects that we've done at UNC Greensboro. This is a photograph of the headquarters for the Research Triangle Foundation, which really administers the development within the Research Triangle Park. The brick structure houses a large meeting room and out spaces, and the triangular portion is kind of an entry that's backed up by the office staff. But again, this is a LEED project, and the landscaping and so forth is all based on plants that don't require a lot of watering and care for their growth. I still enjoy drawing a lot, sketching, mostly freehand. If it's an architectural plan, I can sketch the scale, and the office in India gives me a way to have send them an email late afternoon. I can have a hard line back the next morning, and it kind of develops from there. But young students today, I would say work on your language skills as much as you work on your drawing and your design skills, because there is a good deal of writing that's required in addition to the You've got specifications, you've got reports, you've got things that need to be documented. As buildings grow more complex, it seems like more has to be committed to writing. Let your drawings speak for themselves through clear details and clear specifications, but don't overlook the other aspects of what the architectural practice is demanding today. Collaboration with other architects, with mechanical and electrical engineers, civil engineers, special acoustics, and other things that come into play are all a part of architecture today. And don't let design be the only thing that seems important when you're going through the education. And I think the intern program does, give emphasis to some of the other aspects, but don't wait until you're actually in an office to try to learn some of that. Working construction in summer times, working in architects' offices doing summer breaks or whatever is a good way to start picking up some of this that may not be part of the curriculum. But hopefully the curriculum, I know NC State, looks after other aspects of detailing and, keeping the water out and looking at materials and how they go together. And but being on a construction site, sometimes you can see firsthand because you're the one that's actually putting these things together.